What is going on, guys? PXCam20 back in with a brand new video. We are here at Austria Red Bull Ring for our Manufacturer Cup FIA race. It's been a long time since we've done one of these FIA races. I think about over a week now, maybe a week and a half. But you can see we are in a really high ranked lobby as we are starting, well, not starting, but we are ranked 17th place in this lobby, as I believe this was a second split lobby, so we still have a lot to work on our driver rating in order to get to our first split lobby. So hopefully we can get a good finish here, get some driver rating points, and also get some points for the championship of the FIA Manufacturer Cup, and hopefully we can at least get a good result and do really well. Before we jump into the video, if you guys really enjoy the content, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video, as it really helps out the channel when you guys do so. Anyways, that's enough promoting myself. Let's jump straight into qualifying. So as we come into qualifying, this is going to be a very crucial qualifying. As you can see on the top right hand side, we are not racing on the full version of the Red Bull Ring. It is half of the Red Bull Ring, so it's the shortened version of the track. So what that means is that it's going to be a shorter lap time, which means the intervals from first to last place is going to be very small. So even the smallest of tents can make up about 3 or 4 positions. So we're just going to have to do everything we can to try to be as fast as we can, avoid mistakes, get into the slipstream, and hopefully we can come out with a good qualifying spot. So coming out of one of our flyer laps here, we're coming to the straightaway. You can see a car back out in front of us, and we get a 51.8, so only good enough for 9th place, but I knew it wasn't good enough to keep a 9th place. You can see we dropped down all the way to 14th. Coming to our last flyer lap is basically the last lap of the qualifying session, and we felt like we were doing a really good job as we come out of the final corner, but let's see what we can actually do here. Coming down to the start finish line, we get a 51.7, so we increased by about 1.9 or 0.19 seconds, and you can see that actually increased our spot from 14th to 8th place, 2 tenths behind pole position. You can see how small of a margin of error it was, and at least we're going to start in 8th place. So coming to the points here, if we finish in 8th place, we'll get about 189 points, but we want to get at least 6 or better so we can get 211 points or more and have that improve our Manufacturer Cup standings. So jumping to the intro here, the strategy for this race was a really difficult one, as we were given all the compounds. So we were given soft, mediums, and hards, but there was no mandatory tire. So what we were going to do is we were going to start on the softs, try to run the softs all the way from the beginning to the end, and not only that, try to save all the fuel that we can so we can have a no stop, as fuel was a very big problem that a lot of people were facing here, as it was just enough to get you from the beginning of the race to the end on a no stop, but you really had to save, use a slipstream, use fuel consumption limiter, and just play around with that. And yeah, so that was going to be the biggest trick here to get a good finish on this racetrack for this race. So now as we come down to the straightaway to lead us to the start finish line, we get our 3, 2, 1, and we are a go. So a couple of things that we have to keep in focus of as we are catching up to the Lamborghini ahead of us, and the first thing is fuel consumption. The second thing is the penalties, as the penalties on this racetrack are atrocious. If you go out even like a millimeter off of the line onto the outside of the track, or even cut the corner just by a little bit, then you end up getting a penalty, and it can definitely cost you a race, especially how close everybody is on this racetrack, due to everyone saving as much fuel as you can, since the slipstream is very important on this racetrack. So coming into lap number 3 now, as nothing really happened on lap number 1. We're still right behind the Lamborghini, but we're actually gaining a little bit of time on him, as he's been struggling a little bit on the corners. But you can see it coming off the track, we get very wide, and so does the Lamborghini, and luckily both of us do not get a penalty, as I do wish the Lamborghini did get a penalty, but luckily we didn't there, and luckily we didn't lose any positions, as we almost spun out coming out of turn number 1. Coming to this middle section here, we're all over the back bumper of the Lamborghini, as we're just trying to stay right behind his back bumper, but you can see 6th and everybody ahead of 6th are now starting to pull away from us and the Lamborghini, as we're trying to make a move onto the inside now. We got to get around this Lamborghini so that we don't lose contact with the lead pack. As you can see, they're starting to pull away from us now, but we are unable to do so on the Lamborghini, as 9th place is now starting to creep up on the inside of us, but luckily he backs out, and we're able to stay single file now as we come into lap number 4. So going into T1 here, you can see that we are playing around with the field mapping here as we go very wide again, and almost lose it coming out of that corner, as it's just been a very trouble spot, as if you touch that yellow rumble strip or the yellow sausage curb, you end up spinning out easily, as we are now getting pressured by 9th place. So going to his left-hander, we make a little bit of contact with the car on the right-hand side, as not sure exactly what he was doing, as he almost took himself out there. As we jump into the replay here, you can see that You can see that he is on the outside of us and we're staying on the inside holding our line, and he decides to just come down on us. Not sure if he didn't know that we weren't there or what exactly happened, but luckily nothing crazy happened where we lost the position and where he didn't end up spinning out, as we're now coming to the final 2 corners. So coming into lap number 7 here, we're still right behind the Lamborghini as we're still playing around with the field mapping, and luckily we were able to save a little bit of fuel here, as we still have about 12-13 laps left. But on the race we have about 15 laps left, as I'm not sure if my math is doing well right now, but we are moving on to the inside of the Lamborghini here as he goes a little bit wide into that corner, and you can see that his tires are now starting to get very, very bad as he's just losing it all over the place. We're all over his back bumper here as we're trying to make a move on the outside, cutting it back into the inside here as we're staying on the back of the Lamborghini on the slipstream, trying to make a move onto the inside to come into the final 2 corners. You can see we're on the inside here. We try to brake as late as we can. We take an aggressive move there, and the Lamborghini loses it as he goes very, very wide, and we're able to make the position up as we come into the replay. You see the Lamborghini just goes into the Marvel, and he actually just ends up just losing it himself, going very, very wide, and that's an easy 7th place for us now as we set our sights on the Mazda right ahead of us. So trying to catch up to the Mazda now as we're jumping into lap number 9. We are able to do so here as we're still playing around with the field mapping, as we are now on mapping 3, but we're switching it back to 1 to get a little bit of power so that we can stay with the Mazda, as we're going to try to see if we can push him to the front and try to catch him up to the top 5. Now as we come into the middle section here, you can see how much time we're gaining on the Mazda, but we're keeping it on map level 3 as we just are, again, we're just trying to save anywhere we can on the racetrack, as we do have about 13 laps left on the race, but we only have 11 laps left on the field, so we have to save about an extra 2 more laps in order to finish this race without doing a no stop. But you can see that the tire wears are now starting to fall on the bottom left, as you can see the left hand side tires are really, really worn out, and it's just going to get worse and worse from here now as the race progresses on. So coming out of the final corner, we're still right behind the Mazda as we're just trying to save as much fuel as we can, and we're able to get a good gap from 8th place, so it's going to be very, very easy for both of us to save fuel here, as we don't have to worry about the cars behind us and just worry about the field mapping, and not have to worry about anybody trying to make a move onto the inside of us, as we are now on the middle section of lap number 12. So staying right behind the Mazda here, we're actually not getting anywhere close to the top 5 as they had just run away with this race. So we're just going to focus on the Mazda, try to see if we can get a 6th place position, and hopefully we can to at least get some points on the Manufacturer Cup. So coming to turn number 1, you can see that the Mazda is starting to pull away from us a little bit as we go very, very wide coming out T1, and due to that I was super worried because I didn't know if I was going to get a penalty, because going wide on that corner usually leads into a penalty, and unfortunately we do get a penalty. We got a half a second penalty as we have a car right behind, as you can see on the radar. He is right on our back bumper, so we're going to end up losing 7th place, but it's nothing too bad as we still have 5 laps left on our fuel, and we have about less than 5 laps left on the race, so we can actually push our car a little bit more. As you can see, the Porsche is able to get an easy overtake on us as we had to come into the penalty zone. So luckily we have to serve our penalty right there, and we could just stay right behind the Porsche. As you can see how much time we actually gain on him on these final 2 corners, and we're just going to start pushing as much as we can, as we have again 4.6 laps of fuel left, and we only have about 3 or 4 laps left on the race. So we're just going to push the car as much as we can and shift it onto lean on the final corners to save a little bit of fuel, but on the straightaways just shift it back to 1 and see if we can move onto the inside and make an overtake on the Porsche and the Mazda. So in the middle now of lap number 18, we are still right behind the Porsches. We get a very great run, but he slams the door on us, so we have to back out of there. If not, we would have hit him, and we're just staying right behind him on the slipstream as he's getting a good slipstream from the Mazda. So both of us are just using the Mazda here as a way to save some fuel, but not only that, try to use that as a way to hold each other up on the straightaway. And we're just trying to stay right behind the Porsche as we're looking onto the inside now as we come out of the final corner. So coming down the straightaway here, we get a very good run coming to turn number 1 on lap number 19. You can see we're on the inside here, but the Porsche brakes very, very late, almost runs into the Mazda, but he's able to hold it together, as I thought he was going to go wide and get a penalty, but you can see he gets a really bad exit. So we're shifting to the outside, we're moving to the outside, we make a little bit of contact with the Porsche as we come into the right-hander, and he's able to defend his position here now as we're coming to the left-hander. Slams the door on us again, we have to back out and we're staying right behind the Porsche now. So we're just trying to get around him again, and as you can see, the Mazda right ahead of us is now starting to pull away from both of us. So coming to the final 2 corners, we're moving on to the inside here, so we're going to try to make a daring move going into the final 2 corners, try to break as late as we can, but you can see the Porsche is able to hold it, but he goes a little bit wide as he coming out of the corner, and we're moving on to the inside here as we're coming to the final corner. We're moving right next to him here. We are able to make the overtake on the Porsche and get 7th place. You can see on the replay he goes very, very wide. We give him the space there as we come into the final corner, move all the way to the inside. He makes a little bit of contact with us, ends up pushing himself out wide, and he actually gets a penalty because of that as we now come into lap number 20. So now in 7th place, we're shifting the fuel all the way to fuel map number 1, and we're just going to push like hell to try to catch up to the Mazda right ahead of us as we almost go wide again and get another penalty, but luckily we did not. But we do have a car right behind us, so this is going to be very, very crucial to try to hit all our marks as we go a little bit wide. But you can see on the bottom left, the tire wear is just so horrible right now, as we have less than half of the tire grip left from where we start off on the race. So now as we come out of the middle section of the racetrack, we're coming to a straightaway, and we have the car still right behind us in 8th place. You can see he's getting closer and closer, but we have all our field mapping set to 1, and we're just going to try to push as much as we can again and try to see if we can catch up to 6th places. We have to make up a 1.6 second deficit. So coming out of the final corner, we're starting to catch up a little bit to 6th places. We did break, I believe, a 0.2 second deficit to 6th place, as we are now coming to the start finish line to the final lap as we're heading to turn number 1. Coming to turn number 1, braking as late as we can as we are losing so much grip from our tires, and you can see the car behind us is able to get very, very close to us now as we're trying to defend the inside position. Defending our position now as we come into the middle sector, we're able to do so, but you can see that he gets a great cutback, makes a little bit of contact with us as we're now going side by side onto this left-hander. Going to the left-hander, he makes contact with us, and we go onto the grass as we almost lose it there, and we almost spin him out. Not sure exactly what happened. I think also he didn't think that we were going to be underneath him now as we're coming into the final 2 corners. You can see on the bottom left that our fuel is now just pumping and bumping, trying to stay alive as we are coming to the final 2 corners. Staying right behind the Lexus here. We're going to see if we can make a last minute overtake as we come into the final corner, but unfortunately we're going to run out of time here as we only have 0.5 laps left of fuel, and we are going to finish this race in 7th place as unfortunately we were unable to get a 6th or 5th position, as that's what we were kind of hoping for during the races. We were setting ourselves up to get a really, really good position, but unfortunately we got held up by the Lambo. A couple other things happened, and we were able to at least get a 7th on this race. So able to get 200 points credited towards our Manufacturer Cup standings, so that should help us out a little bit when it comes down to the standings. Looking here, you see that's actually going to help us out as we now have 1,072 points, and going to our friends list, we are going to be ranked in 13 places. We have a lot of fast guys ahead of us that we still need to catch up, but the season's still not over, so we still have a lot to do to try to catch up to these guys. So I hope you guys found this video very, very entertaining. If you guys did, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video. If you guys want to support the channel, I did leave a link to my Patreon down in the description down below if you guys want to check that out, and I hope to see you guys on the next one. Peace out.